Right, welcome back. Hope you had a nice break. We did. I think talking to your colleagues here, the thing for you to remember is that actually 99% of the births you're called to will be like the one we showed you earlier, where really you just let nature take its course, and you're better off doing nothing, hands off, rather than doing anything. And this particular so-called emergency, so I say so-called emergency because it's in some ways not an emergency, breech, is also a birth where the key mantra, the key byword if you like, is hands off the breech. So hands behind your back. Breech baby is best not to be touched if you possibly can. And if the woman's had children before, the chances are this baby is going to come beautifully, just as it should, and you won't have to do anything. It will just go plop out. But we're going to show you a few tricks if there are any problems. Again, in the old days, breech babies, born at home, no trouble, not considered a big deal. These days, where midwifery care tends to be a bit too medicalised in my view, and I think my colleagues' views, you know, we do tend to interfere, but you're going to be at home, fantastic, so the chances are everything will be fine, but we'll give you a few tips if not. Yeah? Okay. So do you want to do the thing, or should I want to do it and I'll talk it? Or?
I'll do it and you can talk it.
Yeah? Okay. So the thing with a breech baby, if you've seen in the notes that the baby is not head first, chances are it'll be bottom first. Occasionally it could be a knee or it could be a foot. You take what comes, obviously, but the most common are bottom first, which is what we've got here.
Yes.
And we would ask mum to come either to the end of the bed. There are ways which are very effective of doing it where you ask mum to lean on the back of a chair or a table so that her back is straight and she's encouraging the baby to come down. It's up to you how you want to play it, but just for the sake of today we'll do it on a bed.
When you say on the bed, do you mean laying back on the bed, or are we sort of like perching sort of towards the edge? Or?
Yeah, we
literally
brought up,
hanging off.
for the sake of the camera, we've got to stay here, but in reality we'd have her right up on the edge of the bed with the buttocks on the edge. I mean,
So
you could
it's
do it
more
on,
like the bed is supporting you rather than you laying on the bed as such. So like right to the edge.
Right to the
yeah,
edge.
like you'd be fine on there. I would probably get 2 dining chairs
Yeah.
and get you to put a foot on each dining chair, just so that you've
So the
got,
bum can hang.
so the bum can hang. We're going to have our baby hanging, which is going to be hard if we've got a piece there.
Well,
I mean,
Sorry, guys on the cameras, will it really not work if we come right to the end of the
No,
bed?
you-
on the second
you
one.
can see it on this
You can
one.
see if you bring you can bring it forward a bit. It'll work on the first one.
Okay. So ideally we want the baby to hang. Should we, is that okay?
Yes, it's basically that. As long as the
We'll
right hand
ask
screen's
mum to
free.
put her
it's fine.
feet, her legs
Yeah.
up, or to
Yeah,
put
that's
feet on chairs.
That's what the students can see
on
online.
the right.
On
Both.
Yeah, both. That's what they're looking at.
Okay, super. So one of the first signs that the baby's breech could be that you will notice a bit of a string of poo. Meconium we call baby poo, yeah? And it's a bit like when you squeeze the toothpaste violently, because guess what? The anus is there, and the baby's probably got meconium. When the uterus contracts, baby goes through the birth canal, it squeezes everything, so the meconium comes out. So if you see toothpaste tube-like amount of meconium, that's one of your first clues. Have a look. Sometimes it's hard to see, is that a head or is the bottom, but you might find little testicles there, or you might find, you know, something that tells you it's the bottom. If you do, you're going to say to mum, would you shuffle to the end of the bed, or would you lean over your bathroom sink or wherever she is? Yes.
Sorry, quick question. There wouldn't be any way in which they might know
Yeah,
They're
they
busy.
might. Yeah,
Yeah.
they might say.
So we might turn up and they'd be like, I'm expected to have a breech
They
first.
might say, I had my scan last week and it was breech. Just telling you.
So it might be breech, it might not. They might have turned
Oh,
around.
Yes.
the baby,
Yeah.
babies
Okay.
do turn. I mean, if you've got, look in the notes and they've had an antenatal appointment within the last couple of days and the midwife has noted down that it's a breech,
It might have turned.
it may well have turned. That's why it's always key to do an inspection to see what
Yeah,
you
of
can
course.
actually visualise.
Cool.
Okay, the only thing to remember is that on a baby's head you've got the suture lines and everything, and sometimes you can actually mistake the suture lines for the anal crevice. Okay, so
That's helpful.
but
So-
anuses usually pout a little bit, whereas heads don't.
This is what we mean by
Yeah,
suture line.
Yeah. So
Fontanelle,
Yeah.
the
It's quite
anterior
easy to
fontanelle,
think.
suture line and posterior fontanelle. So
Okay.
you might see that as it approaches. We're assuming the waters are broken, by the way, obviously, in this case.
but obviously a head is hard,
Yeah.
whereas a bottom is a bit
Yeah.
squishy. And as I say, the meconium is because you wouldn't get that coming out of a head. So that's your sure sign that it is, and especially if you can see genitalia as well,
Yeah.
then that's one way to know. So the visual inspection is, although you can look in the notes and you can ask the woman, there is a chance that unless she actually went and had an antenatal appointment that morning, the chances are that, you know, the baby could have moved. So don't always take that just her last entry in her notes says
Yeah, of
that the
course.
baby's breech, that it could actually be a breech. You need
Yeah.
to look for other signs to confirm that it is actually a breech.
Okay, so same as with straightforward cephalic head first birth, the woman is going to be getting contractions, probably 3 in 10 minutes, 4 in 10 minutes. She'll probably be making some noise. Oh, it feels awful, it feels terrible, oh my God.
This isn't easy, by the way.
And again, no, and you need to be, we might even need to use the little dolly for something like that.
Is it going to be
Sorry,
able to
these
breech
mannequins are very hard to. Did you want to do this? So, we don't normally do this, but just to get, there we are. You can see the bottom, the legs here. Genitalia appear to be absent in this case, but never mind. So, hands off the breech, okay? We're not going to touch, but what we are going to do is lots of reassurance. You're doing great, Lucy. You're doing just great, yeah? Your baby's coming, you'll soon be able to cuddle your baby.
And we do encourage pushing, you know, if she
Yeah.
feels a contraction, you know, push with it.
Now, what we would like, hang on, is for the baby really to be back uppermost, okay? Oh, ideally we'd like it back uppermost. So you can put your thumbs on the bony prominences of the hips and you can encourage the baby. Turn it towards.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going.
Encourage. You know, I think maybe.
There's definitely going to be a
Right.
program.
Let's bring that, shall we? Or is it right?
No, it's coming, it's coming.
Are we turning?
Yeah.
So look, I'm going to block the camera here.
That's it.
Large button.
That's it.
There we are. So you're going to encourage by putting your thumbs on the baby's hip bones, bony prominences there. Encourage the baby to back uppermost. We then hope that the legs will plop out. If they won't, you can put a finger under the knee, something called the popliteal
Fossa.
and encourage it out if they're not flopping out, but usually they do. There we go. So we're going to let this baby hang. Gravity should do its work.
So with this one, so if the legs were to be stuck, you just access the gluteal fossa and you just bring it down, and then with the other one, the same again, and then you let it hang.
And the idea is hands off the breech and
So
let.
the gravity is meant to help, you know, weigh the baby down.
So sorry about the modules, they really are terrible. So it should.
Got prolapse.
So we wait until we see the scapula, the shoulders here, and
now legs come off.
if in 2 contractions there is no progress, because you would hope for progress with each contraction. Every time the woman goes, half, you know, something like that, you'd expect to see a bit more. And with most of the breeches, they will come. Excuse me. If not, we may need to go in, and it's quite good to kneel down and go in to retrieve the arms. Do you not do it? What's that? Go on. Oh yeah, okay. So, thank you. So one way of doing it, you do.
Yeah, so what you can do is you can hold, so you can hold the baby by the bony prominence.
Again.
And you're just going to turn the baby until you can see, you know, this,
180 degrees.
yeah, 180 degrees till you can see. Now if you can access the antecubital fossa, so this part of the arm,
The inner part of the elbow.
you can then
Plop it out. Right, we'll show you again with the other doll in a
so
moment.
you bring it out and
Just
then,
take the breech down.
and
The
then
difficulty here is purely the mannequins, not the
Yeah,
breech.
not the breech. Much easier.
and then you do the same thing, so you turn the baby again
180 degrees the other way.
by the bony prominence.
That's mine.
That's it. And then you get the arm, and then you bring it down, and then you leave the baby.
Again.
Obviously, stay here, just, you know, poise,
And pillows on the floor,
Yeah.
you can find some.
and then you leave the baby to hand. Right? So we're going to leave the baby till you see the nape of the neck.
Come on, baby, come on.
Okay. And then,
There we are.
so what you want to
Let's
do,
do it with this.
yeah, do it. So what you want to do is you kind of want to have the baby here, and you want to hold the baby. Is it the
Cheekbones, yeah.
And you
Not
want
the
to-
eye sockets
Yeah.
ever, the cheekbones.
So just here, and you want to just help guide the head out.
With this hand, Daisy is going to try and flex
Yeah.
the head.
Tuck
Oh,
it
doesn't
in.
flex very well. But to make it as small a diameter as possible. Okay. Come on, baby. Oops, I'm going to think we're having another prolapse.
I think bring the whole front up.
Oh. Cut!
Absolute
Cut!
destruction.
And there we go.
And then the baby
There you go,
will be out.
missus.
Just shove your vagina.
There we
Leave
go.
that for the surgeons to
And
do.
Breeches
onto-
shouldn't, they're not this scary, okay?
Right, we're gonna show you with a better baby.
Well, and then leg falls off.
You just to say though that you may
leg
find that the breech baby is less responsive than the one born head first. So you may find you have to do quite a bit of stimulating, and if this baby is not responding, you'll need your bag and mask and give some inflation breath, see how that goes. Okay, this is all this material, it's very sticky, and this is sticky. Lube.
Sorry, I've got the smaller baby.
We've got the other doll, so we'll try with that. Yeah.
Not even that much left in it, to be honest.
Thank you. So just trying to show you with an easier doll now.
So when the baby is coming and it is breached,
Yeah.
you majority see it back to front. So when you look at the bum, would you anticipate to see
The back
the
would
back
normally
to
be,
the front?
yes.
Or is it going to be sideways?
I think
or
that's
majority.
Majority would
It
be,
will
yeah.
be back
And
to
if
front.
it's not,
So the baby's
it's
coming,
quite
so-
easy to just get the...
So, your weight, the legs might deliver themselves, so wait, but if you feel like there's been a few contractions and the legs aren't
Well,
coming,
I would say 2 at the
Yeah.
most.
so you're going to access the popliteal fossa,
Back of the knee,
and you're going to bring the legs
1,
out and down.
back of the knee, and out. There we are. Couple more contractions, yes, it's moving.
Then you're going to hold the baby, and you're going to turn the baby. Sometimes just the turning might release the arm, but then you access the antecubital fossa of the arm. Just glide it out and down. Yeah. And then you turn the other way.
Take care, only put your thumbs on the bony prominences because we don't want any bruising if you're a little bit, you know, adrenaline fueled.
Out and down.
Out come the arms. And
Wait.
hands off the breech.
Until you see the
Ready
neck
to
in it.
catch if it's going to pop out. Lovely. Fantastic. Can we just show you that final thing You can straddle the legs on your arm like this, so you're taking the weight at the same time to index finger and middle finger onto the cheekbones, taking care not to put them into the eye sockets. And if you can, with the other hand, just press a little bit so that that head flexes. If you think about it, when you flex your head, the circumference is less than if you're going in with the head up. And that's what babies naturally do when they're born head first. The head hits the pelvic floor and it naturally flexes. Okay? So out the baby comes like that.
And then your management would be exactly the same
There you are, Mummy.
going forward as we demonstrated with the normal birth. However, it is quite common for breech deliveries to bleed more, so be aware.
And as I said, for the babies to be not quite so bright as if they come out head first, so you might need a bit more stimulation.
And you might find they are like this a lot afterwards, with their legs like this.
Yes.
Because they have been like that in the
For a few hours.
Yeah. So they might not straighten out.
And
Yeah.
with a breech, you might need to take mum and baby into hospital because they'll tend to check the baby, check the hips and that sort of thing, depending on her wishes. There's no reason why it has to be immediate. If everything's fine, she wants to stay at home. If the APGAR score is good, usually we
Yeah.
say if it's 7 or above, you're okay to stay at home. If mum's fine, just depending on her wishes. If she needs a bit more security and care, take them in, both of them in. But otherwise, no trouble why they should stay at home, and she can get a check later in a day
I
or
think we
two.
tend to try and encourage taking them
Do you?
in. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, just
Well,
after
if everyone
breech,
turn up.
not after a
Not
normal.
after normal, no, I don't think. No.
Any questions?
There's nothing in the chat. Anyone in the chat want to put a question in?
Remember, this is rare. This is not that common because many breech births will be actually signed up for cesarean section. The woman will be given the options, but probably recommended to have a section. So
There is increased risk with a breech.
Okay. Right. So what's the main thing you remember with a breech baby? What's the mantra?
Hands off.
Hands off the breech. If you want to read anything about it, there's a midwife who spent most of her life doing study days on breech and that. Her name's Mary Cronk, C-R-O-N-K. If you want to look it up, she's very good on breech and particularly good for the home situation. So have a look at Mary Cronk's work. She's died now, unfortunately, but I think it's still considered to be excellent.